Hello, dear viewers. I am a global nationalist. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the globe. Today is the first Saturday of the month, and so, as per my schedule, I will be making a video about current events in India from a nationalistic perspective. Today, I want to talk about the Ordnance Factory Board's corporatization and the other reforms that have been done in the military in India. So, the Ordnance Factory Board was a organization under the Ministry of Defense, was a department which was responsible for manufacturing weapons and military equipment, gear, and other things that were required by the military. This organization was created by the East India Company in the 18th century and is more than 200 years old. Now, it is true that this organization has done a lot of good for India, that it has helped in the development of ISRO, DRDO, and other entities. But however, it has not been able to keep up with the times. And because it is owned by the government and directly under the government, it does not participate in the market and therefore does not have to be competitive in terms of price or quality or any of the other metrics. This causes the military to suffer because the supplies from OFB are either of poor quality or they are simply delayed or not uh, given at all, or that they're too expensive. And in fact, the OFB's equipment and weapons have been responsible for several accidents in India's military, which have led to the deaths of 27 soldiers and a loss of 960 crore rupees. Therefore, it can be clearly seen that the OFB has is no longer serving a good purpose for India's defense needs, and therefore I think that this is a good move to corporatize it, to make it into seven different public sector units, which will earn profits, which will be profit oriented, and uh, which will be better to sell and make equipment for the armed forces compared to the OFB, because they will be competing with each other and with other companies. And I think that this adds up to the other reforms that the government has done for the military. I remember back in the first term of the Modi government, in the first few years, they allowed private companies to manufacture weapons for the army. They later brought the one rank, one pension scheme, which was a long standing demand of the armed forces. And now, a few years ago, in their second term, they established a chief of defense staff, headed by General Rawat. And I really think that they're very proficient. The government has a very good hand, though, over the military and the military aspects of governance. Their Balakot airstrikes, the surgical strikes against Pakistan, and the terrorists in the Northeast are proof that the government has taken national security very seriously and is one of its strong points compared to previous governments. And it's why the people of India believe the BJP and Prime Minister Narendra Modi when they call themselves nationalists, because they are protecting the nation. Now, Of course, this does not mean that their administration is perfect. No, they have made mistakes and blunders, but I don't think anyone could question the intention of, if not the whole BJP, at least not the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. I'm pretty sure they have good intentions for the country. They want the country to develop and grow. And I really think that this is a good reform, that it'll help the military. Other reforms, such as the creation of theater commands, will also help because these will allow the three branches of the military, the Air Force, the Army, and the Navy, to work together and communicate with each other. And different areas of the country, the northwestern, the eastern, and the oceans, this will prevent them from being in a situation in a conflict. Touch wood, it doesn't happen. That might not be able to communicate with each other on how to plan a battle, which would make them weak and vulnerable to the enemy forces. This was seen actually when India launched the Balakot airstrikes against Pakistan in 2019, when Pakistan sent planes to India, F-16 fighter jets, uh, and India responded. The army was told that to be alert, but they were not exactly told what to expect. And so, luckily, that didn't result in a greater problem for India, and that incident was handled well by our fighter pilots. But it is an example of the dangers of not having uh, strong communication between the three forces. Now, some people have criticized the theater commands because they say that they're still, like previously, more focused on the army, and the army is still commanding most of the resources. I believe that this is a valid criticism, that the government should be putting the same amount of resources and energy into all the three branches because they're all necessary for our security. But because I'm simply not a military scholar, I would not. Uh, I want to read up more on this before I speak more about it. And yeah, so this OFB corporatization is really good. It's another example of Modi uh, pushing through reforms despite the opposition. And I'm confident that it'll work out and it'll help our military be more readily armed and better equipped. And that I wish good luck to the seven PSUs that will be created out of the OFB, and hope that they will serve the nation properly and competently. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for watching. Vande Mataram. And a special shout out to the Indian Armed Forces. Jai Hind.